Hey there, vinyl community. It's Joel coming at you from Planet 13, and this is my end of April haul. And for April, what I really wanted to do, I wanted to fill in more gaps in my collection, but I also wanted to expand my musical reach, pick up some bands that I've just barely been exposed to, and aside from, a couple hit singles. So this is kind of a mishmash of both, and I'm going to start with the gaps primarily. And the first Gap album I got was David Bowie's Hunky Dory. I'm going to try holding up these album covers a little longer than normal, so if you want, you can kind of fast forward to see what I got. So, uh, Hunky Dory is Bowie's fourth album, I believe. It came after The Man Who Sold the World and right before Ziggy Stardust. Some amazing songs on here. You got Changes, Oh You Pretty Things, and Life on Mars are probably the most familiar songs, but there are some other great classics on here as well. Phenomenal album. Comes with a nice liner sheet with lyrics, which is always appreciated. And then you get the album in a nice anti-static sleeve, plus the original sleeve as well. So this is the reissue, the 2017 reissue. Next album is another Bowie album, and it is another Gap album. It's Bowie's Diamond Dogs. And this is a gatefold album, so you get the nice little gatefold there. And you get the back. Now, I don't know what's going on with the back with mine. I don't know if his junk's airbrushed out or not. I'm not an expert on that. But I know albums where it shows Bowie's dog junk, um, when this was originally released, command thousands of dollars. And later on they airbrushed it. And then this could, of course, have it or not have it. I don't know. I didn't really do my research. I don't really want to spend my day looking at David Bowie's junk. If I did, I'd watch Labyrinth. And so, really cool album. Great songs on here. Diamond Dogs. And you got Rebel Rebel, which are big hits in 1984. Originally, this was going to be a musical based on the book 1984. And Bowie couldn't get the rights. So half the songs on here have like a Bowie 1984 theme, and the other half doesn't. And of course, you get the remake sleeve, or the original sleeve remade, and you get the album on black vinyl and an anti-static sleeve. Next album I got is another Bowie. I wasn't originally going to get it because it's a compilation, but then I pulled the trigger on it because there's probably my favorite Bowie song is on here. And the original album that's on is just commanding too much money at the moment. So I picked this up as an alternative for now. And it is Changes to Bowie. And there's all the songs on there. So all awesome songs. Most I have on the original form. But it's sometimes nice just to hear these hits. My favorite song on here, and maybe my favorite Bowie song, is Wild is the Wind. And it's not my favorite because it's the most incredible song ever. It's kind of a very ordinary song. Bowie is just kind of crooning on it. And why I like this song is that it just hit me at the perfect time. It was just in a very ordinary time, I guess. I was just driving on the highway home, late from a hard day's work. It was a Friday night, and it was the summer. It was last year. And I had a Bowie CD compilation in my car stereo. And I was just exhausted, and it was just nice to get home from work because I was working late, and the sun was kind of setting, and it was really hot. It was stinking hot, but I had my window down on the highway, and I was on that sweet spot on the highway where there's no traffic in front of me, no one behind me. Normally when I drive home from work, there's someone like just tailgating me, and there's someone just driving slow in front of me, and I'm just like, oh, I just hate this. But not in this case. So sun was setting, perfect time on the highway. Wild as the Wind comes on, and it was just a magical moment. And ever since that, it's been my favorite Bowie song. I don't think I'll ever recapture that moment, but it was just a lovely moment, and that's why it's my favorite Bowie song at this moment, which is kind of silly, but it works. 50% of these albums came on colored vinyl, and 50% came on black. I got the colored vinyl, which I'll show you in a moment, but here's the record sleeve. which is rather cool. I always like it when they do this. And yes, mine is on, I think it's blue vinyl. I'm colorblind, so it could be purple. But here's the vinyl. And there's no indication on the album which one you'll get. They just kind of randomly get what you're going to get. So there's a lot of people who bought this on Amazon who complain they didn't get it uncolored. And I bought mine on Amazon. It's 22 Canadian, which is like 16 American. So kind of dirt cheap for an album, brand new. At this moment in time anyway. So, very cool album. The next album I got based on Melinda's recommendation. She shows this album quite a bit. And it is Blue Oyster Cult's Agent of Fortune. I was familiar with Blue Oyster Cult. I do know most of their hits. I just wasn't familiar with a lot of their songs. And Melinda always recommends this album. And it's a fantastic album. Great songs. A-side, amazing. B-side, just as good. I do prefer A-side a little more, but B-side's got some good songs on it. I've only spun this 5 times, so I'm no expert on the album just yet. I picked it up pretty cheap. It was like $5 Canadian, which is like $3.50 American. No skips. Very clean album. I was impressed. I expected this to have like a lot of jumps on it, but nah, it's perfect. Blue Oyster Cult, of course, a lot of people are familiar with them from the SNL skit. I was more familiar with them from 2 movies. The first movie is a 90s comedy called The Stoned Age. It's not a really good movie. It came out in the early 90s. I think if you're like 16, you'll love it. If you're in your 40s like me, it probably doesn't hold up. But in that movie, there's this guy who goes to a Blue Oyster Cult concert, and this just leads to some comedic moments throughout the movie. When he's at the Blue Oyster Cult concert, he gets hit by a laser in the eye, and ever since then he has these like not concert flashbacks, but he has these philosophical, I can't even say it, but you know what I mean, kind of like flashback moments where he'll like have these illusions when he's like old in the middle of a desert on like a bed all alone talking to his older self. Just weird things like that happen where he just kind of phases out in the movie and he flashes to this kind of scene. And it's just really funny. And then the second way I was familiar with them was from the release of the miniseries, the Stephen King miniseries, The Stand. It was like a big deal in I think it was 94. And in the early 90s, they released a lot of Stephen King miniseries. It was like a big deal. They'd air like every Sunday in the month of probably May. I think May. So like the year before, or a couple years before, you had like It, which was a big deal, and then they had a couple others, and The Stand was like a huge deal too. And the opening of the movie, I just remember it was like they played Don't Fear the Reaper, and they just had like this opening shot of all these like, I guess, dead people in a hospital or something. I haven't seen it in 25 years, so I could be wrong there, but it was just that image just kind of really stuck with me. So, and this Don't Fear the Reaper just sounds amazing on vinyl. I couldn't believe, like, I've heard it many times before, usually on the radio, or watching, of course, SNL. I heard it. I watched that live when that actually aired. I didn't see it in a repeat, so I was watching SNL at the time, and I just remember that coming on and just cracking up laughing. But yeah, I usually hear this on the radio, but on vinyl, it just sounds way different. Just amazing song. And this album, I think it's their 4th. I could be wrong there. I'm no expert in Blue Oyster Cult, but this is, I think, the only album where every band member sings. So it gives a lot of variety to the album. It's just an incredible album. Next album I have on CD, but I picked it up because I remember Jamie mentioning it in October during his Halloween episode, and it is War of the Worlds. Yeah, that's the soundtrack to War of the Worlds. I went to this record shop looking for some record store day like leftovers, and they didn't have any, and in the basement they had like 9 copies of these, so I had my pick of the litter. And I didn't go with the most expensive copy. My copy was 25 Canadian. They had ones that were like $40, but this one was in good shape. Came with the booklet, so it said A+ with booklet. It's a gatefold. I guess some aren't gatefolds when I was looking at them. So the non-gatefolds were like $5. I wanted the gatefold. I love this album. Again, I had it on CD, and I forgot all about it until I was watching Fargo, and they played one of the songs in season 2 of Fargo. They played one of the songs, and it was just I was like, I've heard that song before, and then um, I started listening to the album again, and then when Jamie mentioned on his Halloween episode, I pulled the album out again. So it comes with the booklet. It's about eight to 12 pages, I'd say, with some pictures, and it's got lyrics from the songs. Not really lyrics, more like dialogue. Really cool album, just kind of like science fiction-y. You got some theremin happening in there. Really cool album. If you see it really cheap, I recommend grabbing it. It's just a nice album to have. Next album I got, I don't hear too much about it. Melinda mentioned it recently, not this album, but this band, and it's Uriah Heep's the Magician's Birthday, and this is on Gatefold, and just some nice artwork overall. This apparently isn't their best album. I think this is their 5th album, and I bought it for the song The Magician's Birthday. The big song off here is Spider Woman, but my first exposure to Uriah Heep was The Magician's Birthday. I just asked my I have one of those voice pucks from Amazon, and I just asked it to play some Uriah Heep, and it played The Magician's Birthday, and it's just like the weirdest song. And it's got like a kazoo solo, and it's just, I think it's a kazoo. Just a really bizarre song. And I have a couple of albums since, and I've been doing my research, and this is generally like they give it like a B rating compared to their other albums, which get like an A+ rating. So Magician's Birthday is just kind of like a jam song that I just kind of like. I don't recommend you seek it out and listen to it. You probably won't like it, but I kind of like it. It's kind of a quirky song. And yeah, that's Uriah Heep. So this is my 3rd Uriah Heep album. And they're still, I think they're touring this year. They're a UK band. And I don't think they really hit it big in North America. Another band that didn't really hit it big in North America that I picked up is UFO. And this is another Gatefold album. This is the best of. And it's got like this nice family tree album, because UFO, again, is another band that hit it big. I think a lot of the members were interchangeable, and they're at the point where there's just like 1 or 2 original members left. This album, I didn't really look at it too closely, and I paid quite a bit of money for it. I paid $30. It's a UK import, A+ condition, 1983 compilation. So this has songs. I thought it was just gonna be UFO. I just kind of grabbed it. I was just like, oh, I need some UFO, and from what I heard from UFO, it was always, if you want to get into them, get like a greatest hits album, because there's no set album that stands out. Apparently, I don't know. That's just what I was listening to Eddie Kramer, like a radio DJ, talk, and he recommended getting a compilation. And this has it's not entirely UFO. It's got Scorpions on here. It's got Whitesnake, because it's following the different bands from UFO, or different players, and they're just kind of throwing in other songs. It's got Michael, I'm going to butcher his name, Schenker on there. He's like the main guitarist of UFO, or the most popular guitarist of UFO. He was in the Scorpions for a while, and then he went solo. It's got a band called Wild Horses, and then it's got side 4 on here is just live from the Hammersmith of UFO songs. So I was kind of somewhat disappointed that it wasn't entirely just studio UFO songs, but it's nice to have the mix, I guess. When I put this on, every song's rocking. So it's kind of cool. I just wish I kind of thought it out more and got like a different compilation, so I'd become more familiar with UFO. I already know Whitesnake and Scorpions quite well. But then with this, I'm getting exposed to Wild Horses, which I've never even heard of. There's another band on here called Lone Star, and Michael Schenker. I'll get more familiar with him. He's like a guitar god among many. Like, many people like really look up to him. And I don't know, from what I've read, this could be incorrect, but when he was in UFO, he would just leave concerts like before they'd finish, which I think is kind of a jerk move. So maybe he's got a lot of ego. I don't know, it's either him or his brother. He's got a brother in the Scorpions, and they don't speak well about one another. So I don't want to be mudslinging or mudraking or whatever they call it, but that just kind of turns me off a bit. And I should get past that because it's really none of my business. Next album I got is a whole album, or I guess a Gap album. Not going to speak about it too much. It's Dio's Dream Evil. This is a recent reissue. Here's the inner sleeve. I'm just trying to get myself familiar with Dio. I saw him in concert with Heaven and Hell, which is like a Black Sabbath. They kind of reformed and they called themselves Heaven and Hell with Ronnie James Dio. This comes on green. Pretty cool album. I'm trying to get all the Dio albums. The one remaining that is impressed right now is Lock Up the Wolves. I heard it isn't like the best album. This album's pretty good. Dio apparently never liked it. He found it too slow. But I like it quite a bit. And this was a Rocktober release. Another album I got by Dio is this one, Strange Highways. I like this one a little more than Dream Evil. This is what he released right after Dehumanizer. So he got back together again with Sabbath, I think in '91, for the album Dehumanizer. They had a song on the Wayne's World soundtrack. It was featured in the movie. And right near the end of the tour for that album, Ozzy offered Sabbath to open for one of his No More Tours show. And Dio freaked out and he just left the band. He said, there's no way in hell we're doing this. And yeah, he just left the band. This is on purple vinyl. So yeah, Dio left the band, and then out of rage, he kind of put together this kind of angry album. And so apparently, from what I've read, this is like one of Dio's most angriest albums. It kind of suits the time too. Everyone was kind of angry in the 90s. It was the thing to do. I got two more albums to show you. These are more modern. This album is Ministry's Greatest Hits. This is a Run Out Groove pressing. I found this for $40, which if I bought from Run Out Groove and I factored in shipping costs and exchange rate and border duties, would have cost me $60. So getting this for 40 Canadian, which would be 30 American, is pretty awesome. And this wasn't even used, which was another cool thing about it. So there you go. There's the plastic sleeve off. You can kind of see it better. It's an gatefold album. Run Out Groove, they do reissues, like one-time limited pressings of reissues. If you're not familiar with them, I recommend you check them out because they have some really cool stuff. Once a month, everyone gets to vote on 3 albums, and then whatever gets the most votes, they press, and you pre-order. So whoever pre-orders in that month, that's how many copies they apparently print. I think they probably print a couple more, maybe just to hand out as just promos or whatnot. So there's no inner sleeves or anything, but it does come on black anti-static sleeves. And it comes on like a transparent kind of grayish greenish vinyl. A lot of cool songs on here. I have this on CD, so it's nice to hear this on vinyl. If you're not familiar with Ministry, well, they're kind of like an industrial rock metal kind of band. They're still touring to this day. They're always excellent in concert. They played the first Lollapalooza, I believe. Or no, it would have been the second Lollapalooza, and that's a concert I went to, and it was awesome. That was like one of the most amazing tours I saw. We had Ministry, which were this hardcore kind of dangerous band, and Al Jorgensen is the character, and he's like really drugged up during this period. And I remember reading stories of him, because they were touring with it was called Jim Rose Side Circus. And there's this guy called Matt the Tube Crowley, and he used to pump out his stomach on stage because they were a freak show. They kind of parodied on The Simpsons. And what he'd do, he'd stick a tube down his nose that would go into his stomach, and he'd have a funnel, and he'd pour like a beer down there, and then a raw egg, and then he'd pour all this other stuff down there. Like, that was edible. and then he'd pump it all out, and then he'd drink it. And one day he was on stage about to drink it, and Al Jorgensen just runs out on stage and just chugs it. And Al Jorgensen got such a reaction that later on, I think Eddie Vedder did it, and then Chris Cornell, I think, did it as well. And so you get all these like superstar bands just running out and chugging this guy's stomach contents in a glass. It's just really weird. Just a funny story. But Jorgensen used to go around to all the bands' RVs too, and you weren't supposed to go number 2 in someone's like motorhome or trailer or bus, and Jorgensen would just always do that in someone's bus. So he was just a character on this tour. And another story I heard, it was Alan Cross, who's a famous Toronto DJ, amazing guy to listen to. He's got a story where he's about to interview Jorgensen, and Jorgensen was walking out of his tour bus and he tripped. He was holding like a 40 of Jack Daniels, and he broke the 40, like the neck of it. So when Alan Cross is interviewing Al Jorgensen, Jorgensen was just drinking out of this 40 of Jack Daniels with a broken neck, and there's all this broken glass in there, and he's like jagged like neck on this thing, and he's just drinking. So really character. He's cleaned up his act. He's really pierced now, really tattooed now, but he's thankfully back on the straight and narrow because he's a really interesting character. So that's what I got there. And final album I got is another band that's more modern, and it is Korn. I got probably their biggest selling album, Follow the Leader. This was 20 Canadian, double LP. Unfortunately, it's not gatefold. I thought it would be. I was kind of disappointed it wasn't, because you got this awesome Todd McFarlane artwork on it. I'm just going to show you the CD. I was hoping it would kind of... CD has like this nice wraparound cover, and I was hoping to get this on vinyl like this. So I'm a little disappointed because I'm just a big fan of Todd McFarlane artwork. But it's still a great album to have on vinyl. Just on black vinyl. And you got your inner sleeves like this. So, yeah, cool album to have. I'm glad I got it. Just, again, disappointed it's not a gate sleeve. I'll show you the labels as well. So you just got these nice Korn labels. And I'm going to end it there. So until next time, take care, and I look forward to watching your videos as well. Cheers.